Welcome to Odyssey's Influencer Insights, your go-to place for anything influencers. Let's jump right in. Hey everyone, welcome to Odyssey's Influencer Insights. Today, I'm excited to introduce our guest, Jay Blake. Jay Blake is an accomplished content creator, producer, and host with a unique journey that's deeply rooted in both faith and creativity. From hosting high-profile events like the NFL Draft Experience to producing projects like The Divine, Jay Blake has carved out a distinctive path in the industry. We'll be diving into Jay Blake's personal and professional journey and uncovering insights for those looking to blend passion, purpose, and business. Jay Blake, welcome to the show.
How's it going? Ezra? It's really good to meet you, man, and thank you for the opportunity.
Of course. Well, I'm excited. I'm excited to get into things. I kind of want to start and bring it back a little bit and hear about your upbringing. You know, you're doing a lot of different things in the creative space, which we'll touch on in a second. But I want to hear kind of how you grew up, where you grew up, and what got you into everything that you're doing today.
Yeah, I grew up in Memphis, Tennessee. I was born in Indiana, but raised in a single family household in Memphis, Tennessee, and I kind of always grew up around, the arts, entertainment, church. I grew up in the Bible Belt, so my family was Christian, and so I grew up in the Christian faith, and eventually, throughout, I would say, grade school and high school and college, I always pursued entertainment and arts as kind of just like, my really, really good hobby. But then once I graduated college, I became like really, really, really engulfed with, hey, I could have this as a profession. And so, yeah, man, ever since I would say undergrad, I've been pursuing, a career in the entertainment industry as a professional and building my career blocks.
Well, that's very cool.
Yeah. Yes,
And
sir.
so you're touching on that kind of Christianity, that faith there, as well as the content creation and creativity there. How do you say that your faith has influenced kind of the creative path that you're mentioning?
Yeah, well, with my faith, I obviously like I said, I'm a Christian, and so everything that I try to do is centered around some sort of hope and inspiration. I believe that there's so much already in the world that is bad and kind of deterrent from the light that we all need. And I believe, obviously, like my faith is centered around Jesus Christ and everything that he's done for me as a believer. But when it comes to like my creativity and the way that my faith is set up and the lens that I look through is how can I inspire someone to make positive changes in their life? How can I inspire someone to give more than they receive in life? What does it look like for me to inspire someone and to encourage someone, to let them know simply the message is like, you're not alone walking through life? And so I've kind of let my faith kind of serve as like a guiding light in regards to all of my creative avenues, and try to always have, light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah, that's great. And can you talk us more through your creative avenues? So you're saying growing up, about doing the faith and the creative avenues. There's a lot going on. I mean, going through your social media and your website, it seems like you're doing it all. So I want to hear,
There's
yeah,
There's
just
a
hear about
lot,
that.
Ezra.
Yeah.
There's a lot, Ezra, man. Like, so to be honest, I grew up in
Okay.
music and faith. My father, before he passed away, was a pastor and a preacher, and he would sing. My grandfather was a singer, pastor as well. I am not in pastoral leadership, but music and faith has just been the center of my life. And so I actually started professionally, like singing background vocals for some different artists, like gospel, pop. I got my start, in that sector of just kind of sharing outside of doing, your church solos and everything like that, growing up in the choir. But professionally, yeah, I started singing background vocals, and then what that led to is I did a familiar TV show called American Idol. Hopefully you're familiar with it.
Of course, yeah.
But yeah,
Oh,
I did American Idol, and that was like fresh out of high school. I
wow.
was terrified, but even that process alone kind of got me, more and more intrigued with the industry overall, because it's not just singing; it's really trying to focus on elevating and rendering your craft at a level of excellence. And then what that looks like is the lights, the cameras, all the things that make it be what it is outside of the show. That's what got my attention. I was like, oh my gosh, I want to do this. So while I was doing that, fresh out of high school and my beginning years of college, I was studying music business. But because I was doing the TV show, I actually did not finish my music business pathway. I finished college and I finished my undergrad, but I stayed business and minored in television and film like production. So I was like, I came out a marketing, degree, and but I really got my focus, thankfully, in television and film production, which is what landed me out here in California because I was studying at Cal State Northridge, their television and film department. So yeah, I hope I just answered the question in a very concise way. But you were like, what are all these avenues? So you have music, you have television and film, and you have content creation, and most recently, producing. And so yeah, so those are my avenues. Mainstream media, and every major monument, like every sector like that, has had its kind of influence over my life. So like I talked to you about the music journey and the things that I've done there. People often wonder like, well, how did you get into hosting and all of that? Well, my sister, she had her own radio show
Mm.
with me
Wow.
coming up. And so she would give me opportunities to volunteer at the station and eventually come on as like a co-producer. And so I was then like reading professional, PSAs and commercials and getting involved with radio broadcast, radio broadcast shows as a producer. And so that's what kind of got me in the hosting space and like, I think I might want to do this, but do it on camera. And
Mhm.
so, so then that's what kind of sparked that interest. And then obviously, like we've been in this wave of content creation, I would say since about 2016 or so. And so I've just kind of embraced that because I believe like you should be evolving as an artist, and yeah.
And when was it in your creative journey when you realized that, you love doing this, this is a big passion of yours, but it was almost like that transition into realizing that this can be a career path for me and this is, what my life's focus can be. Was there a certain point when that happened, or what was that like?
The first time I got paid. The first time I got paid
Yeah.
to do the work. And man, I remember, from acting, I remember my very first commercial was actually during American Idol. They had all the contestants do this big Ford commercial, but you could barely see me in that. And I was like this big. But when I first moved to LA, I did a commercial for the Special Olympics, SoCal Dream House. And that was like my first major campaign where I was hosting. I was literally walking through giving you the tour of the house and encouraging you to enter in the raffle. And it was huge. I'll have to send it to you. But that was like my
Yeah.
first major
Yeah,
thing. And I was like, oh my gosh, I literally just got paid for my gift of what I would do even if I were like not being paid for it.
hmm
So that just was the icing on the cake. And so when I realized, okay, I can do this, and I can, get compensated for it, I was like, okay, like what does it look like to set myself up professionally to be able to do this and to continue to render my gifts?
hmm Okay. Yeah. That's amazing. And here's what I'm curious about. So you do singing, producing, acting. I feel like those are all um, career paths that a lot of people want to do, right? It seems, scary to go into, maybe saturated or hard to break in, right? What would you
Hmm.
say to someone that wants to get into kind of these different creative career paths like singing or acting and just doesn't really know where to start? Like, what would you recommend for someone that wants to break in and start making money maybe one day from that creative process?
Yeah, I believe my recommendation would be for someone who wants to get started in whichever industry. It doesn't even have to be entertainment related. It's like, I would say follow your curiosities.
Hmm.
That would be the first thing is like, hey, like follow your curiosity. And if it sparks joy, like if it sparks a light in you, then go after it. It's worth pursuing. And then I believe as you pursue it, set goals for yourself. Set goals like, hey, I'm in radio right now. I think I want to be on television. I think I went from doing radio to red carpets and
Hmm.
doing that, facilitating those for different brands and, social media content and building all of that for these different brands. And so I knew that that was the goal. Okay, like how can I go from here to here? This is where I see myself. What's the road to get there? And you don't always know the road, right? The road is not always clear, but if you can make a friend along the way, make several friends, make acquaintances, get to know people, shadow, take classes, right? Be inspired to do it all, not just be up as, unpolished talent, but do the effort, make the effort to, study, know your stuff, and take advantage of, hey, I may not be on camera this way, I may not be on camera this time, but there's an opportunity for me to work the lights, or there's an opportunity for me to be on set, or there's an opportunity for me to handle the talent. You get what I'm saying? So then you may be able to ask your questions that way, or just engulf yourself in it and be open and be responsible not only with your gift, your talent, but your time.
Yeah, that's amazing advice.
Thank you.
And
I was like, when I think about it, I'm like, that's what I would tell somebody, like,
yeah,
right off the back. So,
yeah, no,
yeah.
that's great. And how both in that and also content creation, I also want to hear more about kind of that element because I guess that as you're saying, you constantly gotta evolve your creative life and your creative journey, right? How has content played a part in those different realms for you?
Yeah, content is it's kind of crazy, man, because like you're right, it does seem very oversaturated. It definitely feels like we're in kind of an almost an overshare season of
Hmm.
just so much being thrown at us every day. But as an artist, I'll tell you from the business side of things, like I've worked on a few different commercial campaigns and marketing campaigns, and sometimes those producers are like, hey, like what's your reach look like? What's your following look like? Like they sometimes they inquire. And then
Hmm.
sometimes that doesn't matter at all. And they just want to know, do you have the chops to be able to promote our product? And are you likable? And like all those different things, right? And so I've just made it a point to where in my career, I don't want there to be any excuse as to why I'm really not able to flourish. Try and do my part to, get my numbers, get my reach up, but then at the same time, make sure I'm adding value in the space. And I think that that's one of the things that I felt like was challenging and a little bit of a struggle for me because, you know, I like the internet, but I also don't feel like my life all the time is worth being posted and shared every little bit. So I think with content creation and partnering with different brands and things like that, it's given me a reason to share light, and
Hmm.
share, oh, like this part of my life, or just share like, the ins and outs without being too evasive and still keeping some sense of privacy, which is something like I feel like we all should value as human beings.
Hmm. Yeah, because a question I've always wondered is when you're trying to, start your influencer content creation journey, a part of you thinks, you got to be consistent, you got to be constantly producing content, but at the same time, you also don't want to overshare. And what would you say is the right balance of knowing, what you should share about your personal journey, but still not sharing your whole life to the world and still able to keep the key parts to yourself, right? Like what's that balance like?
You know, I don't know. Like, so I used to work in IT.
Hmm.
I had a stint where I worked in IT for a little bit, and a lot of times people don't realize that the internet is forever. So it's always good if you have some sort of doubt, bro, to just really run it past a friend.
Hmm.
Run it past a friend before you share. I think
Yeah.
now I'm a little bit more cognizant, of just kind of like, okay, I really only use my social platforms to promote whatever it is that I'm doing.
Hmm.
Because, it could be a part of your business strategy. If you don't have, an immediate publicist or something like that, then people are depending on your social platforms to serve as a source of truth. So if there's always like all this stuff on there that really isn't about your personal brand, or if it's not any partnerships that you're working with or things like that, then you're kind of disrupting that source. And so I've kind of looked at it that way. But I love creating content and I love the entertainment piece of it.
Hmm.
And, I am still kind of, I mean, like, thankfully, my outlets when it comes to red carpets and live events and all of that keeps me kind of always, if you look at my page, I'm like always releasing some sort of footage regarding that. But I would love to evolve and get more like brand deals and things like that. And so like that takes time. But the cool part about it is like working with the NFL and working with Apple and like all these other different brands, like it's affording me the opportunity to have content to post, to share, and to loop the brand in on and to spark those partnerships.
Yeah. And can you tell me a little bit about those different partnerships that you've done? Like I saw the NFL experience that seemed incredibly cool. Can you talk a little bit
Yeah.
about that and what else you've been doing?
Yeah, man. Okay, so over the last few years, man, I have been blessed with the opportunity to partner with brands like Disney, Freeform, Apple, the NFL, Fuji Film, and yeah, I've worked with Nerf. Which is really cool. Nerf and Hasbro, like the
Yeah,
different, the different guns.
that's
Man,
amazing.
it's so much fun. So yeah, so like those are just some of the brands that come off of the top of my dome that I feel like people would be most familiar with. But I've worked with other brands too, and I think it's like an ever evolving train, right? It's just like, okay, what can I do? What's gonna make myself more valuable, and and what's gonna make them more attracted to me. I'm still learning the art, which is why I was so happy to have this conversation with you because I know that you kind of have an agency where you kind of house them and all that. So it's always cool to partner with people to see, okay, like what are they looking for? What do I need to do to appear more to this brand, or like just I'm just so open these days on like, okay, what is it gonna take, and is this within my means and my capacity to produce?
Hmm.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's amazing. There's two questions that popped into my mind there.
Yeah, no
One is
worries.
like what you're saying, how do you position yourself to be better suited for brands? Like what exactly are they looking for, and how can you position your own personal brand and your creatives to what businesses are looking for?
Yeah, I mean, something that's worked for me is constant research, right? So, hey, I believe that if you work with a brand or a campaign or something like that, whenever I'm filming, I'm like, okay, let me go and look at their past two campaigns and see like at least like what their color scheme is, and colors. Like if you research that, colors are also they speak to the, yeah, like
Hmm.
they're on purpose. So what are they trying to convey in these promos and these commercial promos and all that? So I look for information that sometimes is not verbally given to me. And then after that, I'm like, okay, well, how do I fit? What are they looking for? They may be looking for my demographic. They may be looking for my lifestyle right now. You get what I'm saying? Single, on the go. You get what I'm saying? Going from project to project. They may be looking for that guy. What is it? And how does this project, this brand relate to my life? And so that's kind of been my strategy. I would recommend that to everyone and be like, oh my gosh, like I want to be involved with this brand right now, and then reach out. Right? There's so many different ways to kind of reach out and see who's over their influencer PR or their influencer marketing. Like see who's over those different departments to see how you can partner. And then come prepared with your numbers, right? Obviously, like, hey, like this is my reach. This is who I have invested. Just it's it's a constant exchange, Ezra. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's a constant business, the industry, faith, like all these things require some sort of exchange. And when you take the time to really lock in on that concept and that idea, you know, you won't just be giving out of empty buckets, and you won't just be receiving in your buckets. Like, you get what I'm saying? Of life. Yeah, of life. That's what I'm trying Do you understand what I'm saying? You
Yeah,
got
yeah,
me? Okay, cool. Okay, cool. Yeah.
yeah. And what? So let's say you're kind of starting out. You're building your social media. You're building your personal business, and you're starting to see, some growth there. When do you think people can start connecting and promoting brands? Because from my experience, it seems like some people, when they're starting this space, they think, they need massive followings, they need all this different case studies and stuff. For people that really are just kind of starting into that space, how how do you break in and kind of get that first brand deal to get the ball rolling and show these brands that you do have numbers, when you're starting from ground zero?
You know, I am not sure. And the only reason why I don't know, I can just tell you like what's worked for me.
Hmm.
Before I even had any brands asking me to post or, doing anything of that nature, I was already tagging. Like, so the wave, I think it happened. I don't know the key moment. There's just been several moments over the course of the last 7 years that have happened in pop culture and things like that where it was like, oh my gosh. Like, okay, so there's this DJ, right? He is a DJ, and yeah, I think he may. I don't know if he has some like an accessibility need or something like that, but I know that he tweeted that he was really, really hoping to get some new equipment to DJ, and like posted his stuff and like da 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 da. Or you know what? This is a really good story. I'll finish the story, but then I just thought about another story of my own, which will bring it even more home. He tweeted that and just posted his stuff and like, hey, I really wanted to do this, and like, I love DJing, I love making music and whatnot, and celebrities just showered him with, extra tools and resources, money, or, they sent him headphones, they sent him all these different things so that way he could, evolve in the way that he was making music, and they really saw his passion. I think obviously he had been posting his creative, projects online for a while, but something got the attention of others. And so that story really touched me. Like, I was like, oh wow, we're really in this era where it's really easy to get someone's attention now. It's really easy if you have a bad experience for some airline or something like that. It's really easy to get the attention of people. So as an entertainer, I'm like, well, I want to be in the next Target commercial. How do I make this happen? Like, like what does this look like? I'm really, really, really engulfed on that. And so I think I took the exact same approach. I remember, and this was years ago, but I remember I was saving up for some Monster DNA headphones.
Hmm.
And yeah, bro, I was saving up for some Monster DNA headphones, and I tweeted, I was like, hey, like my birthday's coming up, and I've always wanted a pair. They sound amazing, blah 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 blah, and I tweeted it, and then I looked in my DM, and Monster was like, "Oh wow, happy birthday! We'd love to send you a code so that way you could get your your headphones and all that stuff." And I was like, "Oh, okay, great." I'm so like naive, and they were like, "What all do you need?" Blah 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 blah, and they were like, "Oh, well, we would just need, we'll send you like a coupon or something like that, or some swag." And it was swag. I think it was like, yeah, we'll send you some swag to go with your headphones or whatnot. Because I had already purchased them, so I didn't need a coupon. So I posted that I bought them, and they were like, "Hey, we're gonna send you a coupon or whatnot, or some swag to go with those headphones." They sent it. I gave them my mailing address. Do you know that they sent me a brand new pair of
Wow.
Monster DNAs. So I had
That's awesome.
two pair. So I had one pair that stayed at home and one pair that I could travel with. And I was like, oh my gosh, like this is really possible. Not just is that amazing customer service, and I'll always be a Monster fan, but at the end of the day, I went on my end to share on my platform how much of a positive experience that I have, which was genuine, right?
Hmm.
So I've realized on my journey is like, hey, tag the brands that you're most interested in. You know, if you wear it, tag it. Like, you know, because you just never know. Like these brands are wanting to be represented in some of the spaces that you may very well be in. And so, you know, and so that's what kind of got the information. That's what kind of got the wheel turning with my social media and content creation. I think another thing that has helped me too is having it be a business profile. Because I do so many different things in the industry, and you know, I wear a few different hats, and I'm constantly creating. I think that having professional emails and professional website and stuff like that kind of set up, you know, definitely helps people who inquire, you know, business of me and, you know, all that business dealings and whatnot. It kind of allows them to take me seriously. And so I would always say like, hey, like set yourself up so that way you can have successful conversations with people.
That's amazing advice.
I hope I
Yeah.
was okay. I was like, I hope I wasn't like rambling on,
No,
but
no, I love
I
that.
got to my thought eventually. Yes.
Yeah, no, especially the tagging the brands. That's something that
Hmm.
seems genius to me, but I've never thought of, and I haven't really noticed that many people doing it, but it makes sense, even before you're reaching out to brands or they're reaching out to you. Why not just
Hmm.
put yourself out there and just see what
Yeah.
happens? There's no harm, and they might reach out and send you some headphones, like you're saying.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
absolutely amazing.
Absolutely. You have to keep your sense of wonder in this
Hmm.
industry that, you know, it can happen. And even if it doesn't happen, I see myself there. You know, you have to keep your sense of wonder and your vision, bro. Like that's
Yeah.
something that is so important in our industry. And you know, you have to keep that.
Yeah. And I'm kind of curious to talk about your niche. You were mentioning you juggle different hats. You do a lot of different things. Would you say that you fall under a specific niche, or what type of content would you say you are? Because I see you posting, you're singing at churches, you're doing fashion, you're doing all these different things. Like, is that a specific niche, or what type of content would you say that falls into?
I am just now starting to define that, Ezra. Like I'm being
Mhm.
very transparent and honest with you right now that I believe my niche, my vehicle has always been music to connect with people. I started acting and I started doing, you know, theater and acting and producing. Like I've only been producing for the last 3 years. And I started doing that because of COVID, because of the
Mm.
pandemic. I wanted to diversify my skill set so that way, you know, I could still be working, but still be evolving as an artist. I love connecting people. I also love building resourceful teams. Like that's what a
Mm.
producer does. You just
Yeah.
build teams to get the job done, and you know, like so it keeps my wheels turning. And like as a creative producer, I'm able to have a say so in the ideation of whatever project. That's all I do. Um, and so when people come to me, like I am prepared for that. And that is how I execute. And I have resources that help me get that done. But my niche when it comes to content creation is always around music and live events because I'm always hosting, right? Like that's my one of my number ones. It's hosting and the music. I go back and forth between those two. And every now and then, thankfully, I'm still acting. I'm still, you know, doing entertainment and all of that. And I don't believe that that'll ever die. But I believe what connects me to people automatically is usually music and any kind of live event like hosting, red carpet, all that kind of stuff. And now, as a producer, because I've been doing short films and all that, and I love that. Yeah.
Yeah. And so you've learned all these skills. What would you say to someone that, let's say they're focusing right now on just acting, as an example, and they want to start getting into more of that producing and kind of diversify their skills? From someone that's been able to do that with so many different things, what would you recommend to someone?
I would recommend that they, you know, really take advantage of learning it all if they're in the space to learn. Because the program that I was in at Cal State Northridge, that's what we had to do. There was like, yeah, I mean, I think we took maybe 2 to 3 acting on camera classes, but when you weren't acting, you were holding the lights, you were
Okay.
directing, you were producing. Like, you have to know how to do those things because you never know which path it'll be. Also, you never want to be in a space where you're handicapped. And the more you understand about how these different roles, operate, the better performer you're going to be. Because if you step on set and or if you step on stage and you haven't found your light, then the lighting artist can't light you well. Like, if you don't know what an over the shot shoulder is, and you're in commercial and you're moving all around and like it's not going to be congruent with what the last shot was, the director is going to be teed off. Like, it's like
Mhm.
you have to understand all of these different parts. You don't have to operate and you don't have to live in those roles, but it's just good and it allows you to be able to pivot when necessary. And so that's kind of where I've been lately, is just kind of learning the pivot. As you know, the entertainment industry has kind of taken a little bit of a halt with our most recent strikes. And, just it was kind of like we came out of a pandemic and went into another pandemic. And so what you see on my end, it may seem like, oh, wow, like you're doing a lot of different things, but that's been because I've kind of had to. Like, you can't just have one job. I believe that you can have one platform that magnifies everything else, but you can't just have one job, because if you do that, then you put yourself in a place of, and just you're limiting yourself, for lack of better words. Yeah.
That's great advice. Yeah. Can you talk about what you're doing right now? What I've seen you're doing different projects like the Divine, and you're doing all these live things. You're singing in churches. Can you talk
Yeah.
about that, and like what's a day to day like for you? I assume it's all over the place, right? So much out.
Absolutely. Oh my gosh. Okay, so I still have my everyday job. So I'm doing everything around my day to day in, creative and producing and all of that. But I would say, to answer your question about all of my most current projects and everything, like The Divine, that was my first project that I produced singularly.
Hmm.
Outside, I wasn't an associate producer on it. I creatively developed it. It was my idea. And so what I did is I partnered with students from Biola University and some alumni from the University of Memphis and Cal State Northridge. And we got together and we did something that's kind of like a tribute to the hit 90s TV show Touched by an Angel. And yeah, so we just wanted to represent it from like a millennial standpoint and a Gen Z standpoint. And I would tell you why Touched by an Angel is because Touched by an Angel, it just helped me get closer to God. It helped me get rooted in my faith. It helped me get closer to, my loved ones, my family and friends. And you would watch the show and you would leave completely inspired. And so I was just thinking, like back in 2018, I was like, man, like what would it look like to recreate this show and then do it in a way where it's entertaining to the millennial generation and Gen Z and like, just more generations to come. And so we were successful 2 years ago filming our proof of concept, our idea. And it was my first official Kickstarter as the head executive producer of it. So I raised all the funding and was telling people like, hey, like this is what we're going to do. This is the project I believe in. And, things just kind of came together as you're putting one step of faith in front of the other and telling people about what you're working on. I got the director, I got all the different people involved, and we successfully shot it. We went through like an editing phase, and then we were calling it Touched by an Angel, but legally and just all the different things that are involved with all of that, because you would want it someday to get picked up or something like that. But if we were at our truest intention, was to just capture the hearts of the original creators and just let them know that, wow, you guys really, really inspired us, and that we are not a lost generation when it comes to content that is faith-based, but then also rich content that challenges you and has you thinking. Like, that challenges you, stories that are being told that really, really hit home and inspire you to want to live your best life. And so that was our original intention. Eventually, Ezra, we got the attention of the original creators of the show, and they gave us their blessing, and so we've had 2 successful screenings this past month, and we've just been sharing it and our hope and our goal is that, from a team perspective, is that it does get picked up. And if it doesn't get picked up, our show idea, then maybe it'll be a feature, but it's great, and it's going to go in the pipeline. It was also my first production under my production company. So I have 2 other films that are now in pre-production, and we'll start working on those next year. But this was a great start, and so I'm really excited about the traction and just the response that we're getting.
Well, first off, congratulations for
Thank
running your
you.
first event. That's amazing. Yeah,
Thank you so much.
that's
Thank
so
you.
cool. And what exactly is that like? I mean, you touched on it, but I'm kind of curious. I assume there's so many moving parts. Like you're saying, you have directors, you have different people creating, editing, being in it. Like, how do you manage that? What's behind developing the concepts and the creatives? I feel like there's just so much involved in a project like that, right?
Yeah, I feel like projects alone, bro, are just super, super complex. And the more skilled your team is, you can have a small team and they be all super skilled. But I would recommend, if you're going to do some sort of short film campaign or just anything, like, you've got to have a skilled team, and you need to make sure all bases are covered. And I think from that experience, what I learned is how important it is to delegate, how important it is to really have people in their positions, like their lane. I think with the whole with the Divine, obviously I was the head executive producer and I did develop all the teams, but we got in a pickle twice with the editing process. Like, our editor was also our director, but he was also in another city and state. He was back home in Tennessee. And so, he and his wife, who also wrote on the project with me, she co-wrote on the project, it was the 2 of us, they were in transition, moving to Nashville, like all these different pieces. And so, just staying on top of the timeline to get things done. And, there were times where I had to touch the editing. And then we had 2 associate producers, and they helped with the editing because we had to FaceTime in the director. And it was pretty chaotic. And so if I would do it all over again, I would make sure there is some firmness around who's going to take on this project, and are you in position to do so. So there was that piece. And then also we ran into some complexities around our visual effects. I don't know. Have you seen the trailer?
I saw the trailer.
Okay, yeah. So the trailer is out. It's amazing. But man, like, the VFX, bro, we originally, like, our VFX person, they ran off with our money. It was really, yeah, it was really terrible. The original VFX person that we brought on at the beginning of the project, and it was very, very disheartening because you're trusting people in this process. You're like, you're trusting, and for me it was my baby, so I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm trusting you with this, and now you've run off. We can't reach you. It was pretty intense, and you definitely had to keep the faith through the project. But then I felt like another light just kind of like went off. There was another guy that I did a voiceover for. Shout out to Chris Castor out of Oklahoma, who did our VFX. He loved the idea of the project, and he was like, I'll take a look at it and see, what I can do. And he does professional VFX for some of your favorite faith-based films. And so he's amazing. And he took a leap at it and knocked it out of the park, saved our butts. No, like, he did, so, for lack of better words. But yeah, man. But yeah, so it's no joke. But at the end of the day, when I'm on set and when I'm working on these different projects, like, I want to work on projects that 100% like I believe in, that I feel like are gonna make an impact in some sort of way. And then also, I know I'm talking heavy on inspiration and heavy on, like, impact and things like that, and that is very true. That 100% resonates with me. But at the same time, I also believe that it's okay to do projects that push you closer to your goal and evolve your resume. So a lot of things on my resume I've done not because they were faith centered at all. Like I had to use faith to get there, but they may not have anything to do with, worship leading or anything like that. They may just me doing that gives me the qualifications to do what I really want to do in the future. And one day I'm going to host the Emmys. Like one day I'm going to I have dreams and visions of me doing some other great work. And I needed to be in this space to operate in this other space.
Yeah, amazing. Well, I've got one last question connected to that. And we'll end off with this. You're talking about your vision, impact, the big things you want to do in the future. Can you tell me where you envision yourself in the next 5 to 10 years, both professionally and personally? Because it seems like you've thought a lot about that.
Oh my gosh, this is a very loaded question.
I apologize for
Uh
that, but I'm curious.
no, 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 no. Man, honestly, bro, I see myself in the next 5 years uh still being used by God, still trusting him for like the next steps. Obviously, like I'm clear on, hey, I have my production company and I want to produce films and I want to appear in my likeness based off of, the management side of my gifts and my talent. That was the whole reason why I created my production company. So that way I could, be cut out some of the fat when it comes to like the management piece and like, all of that. But I want to create films and create productions, be a part of productions that impact people. I have 2 to 3 just off the top of my dome that I'm already committed to seeing through.
Right.
In addition to, yeah, in the next 5 to 10 years, like I am going for, the digital creative Emmys. I'm going for, I have some personal social media goals. Like I want to increase my following by 5,000. Like, I'm trying to get my YouTube subscribers up to like 5,000 subscribers. Which is right now I'm currently at 10%. But when I put out the trailer, like it blew up, and then like just my videos. I just recently had a screening, and so I had great viewership with that. And so like, okay, what does it look like for me to focus on YouTube and focus on Instagram over this next year, and really really dialing in and staying committed and locked in on that. So, professionally, I want to work on my reach and reach that level of subscribers. I want to be able to walk into a situation and say like, hey, this is how I can help, and here's my leverage too. Like I want to be able to present some sort of leverage. So I've really been trying to evolve my method of thinking around that. I think personally, man, like I said, I'm a man of faith. You're a Christian, or are you Christian?
No, I'm actually Jewish.
You're Jewish.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm a man of faith too.
You are a man of faith. You are family. You are family for sure, man.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
So, yes, sir. My agent is Jewish. Like
Oh, nice.
one of my agents is Jewish. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And so, but yes, sir. I think for me, I have been trying to really, really, really continue to put one step of faith in front of the other and stay a man of faith. This world is filled with darkness. And if I can be a beacon source of light, from a personal standpoint, like what are the things that's going to evolve me into the man of God that I would like to be? I've really been trying to focus on that over the next 5 to 10 years, and I have some personal things that I just wouldn't share right now. But
Mhm.
that's kind of where my head is. That I am aligning my habits and my goals to help me with that. And then from a professional standpoint, like I want to produce more films. I want to, land. Hopefully, I land some sort of big career gig as a producer that is, respected in this industry or whatnot. But even if that's not the case, I'm going to be around and be in entertainment for sure. Like that won't change. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. A lot of amazing things happening in the next little bit. I'm excited to follow along on your journey.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely, man. I'm so glad that we finally connected.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, man. I'm so glad that we finally connected because, I knew that we had been connecting around like brand partnerships and like all of that. And, when you connect with someone blindly over email, you never know what your tone is coming across as. You're like,
Hmm.
like, sure, like, what does this look like? And so I am excited for just even our partnership in the future.
Hmm.
Like if
Or yeah.
maybe this was an interview too, right? No, but an interview on how we could work together. But no, like I am super excited about, things that you may feel like I may be a good fit for. And now with you and your new podcast, we'll we can just partner and see what that looks like.
Yeah, for sure. I'm excited. Hopefully, yeah, we can find some things, work together in the future, both build ourselves up, both professionally and personally. So I'm very
Yes.
excited for that. Yeah.
Yes,
And
absolutely.
yeah.
Did
And
you see I
for
have a new podcast coming out as well?
I actually did not. No, I missed that. What's your podcast called?
My podcast is called Wise Talk.
Wise
And
Talk.
yeah, it's called the Wise Talk Podcast. And it's going to drop this fall. I'm super excited. I got some very special guests coming that have all these, notoriety, no accolades full of notoriety. That's what I'm trying to say. Yeah, and so really, really excited about a lot of the conversations that we've been having over at the podcast about career development, about practicing wisdom in the workplace, what it looks like to really trust your instincts, trust the voice of God, like trust, your path and what you feel you're called to do and how that sparks the next thing in your life. And so love, relationships, finances, the industry, any career industry. We're not bound to just, the entertainment industry, but it's everything. And it's so cool. We're talking to all different kinds of people, all different walks of life. So, yeah.
That's amazing. Well, everybody that's viewing this podcast right now in the fall, go check out Wise Talk. I'm very excited to tune in when that drops.
Go check it out. Go
That's
check it
gonna be
out.
awesome.
You're going to love it. You're going to love it.
And then also for everybody viewing that wants to check out what you're currently doing both on YouTube and Instagram, where can they find you?
Yes. So my Instagram is J_Blake White, and my YouTube is official JBLAKE TV. So it's official J Blake TV. And we're posting a lot on there. I'm getting better with my vlogging. Vlogging and creating content, it constantly challenges you to come out of your shell, right? And like, come out of your shell and produce more. And the time, obviously, with all the different things that I mentioned earlier, like you have to have time to dedicate to the producing side of it all, right? And the editing side. So there is more content coming, but there's some great videos up all the way, like all of my music videos, all of my stuff. Everything's up online, so you can see 100% of who I am, and I hope it really is like a blessing to you.
Amazing. Thanks so much for sharing. Everyone, you heard Jay Blake. Go check him out right now. See what he's been doing. And
Yes.
yeah, Jay Blake, thank you so much for joining me today. This has been amazing to hear your life
Thank you,
story, what you've
Ezra.
been up to. It seems like you're doing so many cool things. So I feel like everybody that's viewing right now can really take away a lot of wisdom from what you're saying and hopefully improve and develop themselves both professionally and personally and just be a better person. So yeah, this was truly amazing.
Thank you, Ezra. Like, this was a treat and a delight to the day. Anytime you get a chance to have conversation with someone that's as bright as yourself, my friend, it is
Appreciate it.
awesome. So I don't take it lightly. Thanks for including me. Thanks for having me.
Thank you all so much for listening to this episode, staying around to the end. I really hope that you got a lot from it. And if you enjoyed, don't forget to share with all your friends that you think can get value from this. And if you haven't already done so, leave a review. That really does help. And I'm excited to see you guys in the next episode.